Have you seen the video debunking those primitive building videos? I actually still haven't seen Sunny's video on it yet, but I also debunked those videos on stream, and I was met like I was trying to teach teriology. No one believed me. I tried debunking it on stream because I was telling people that most of them, almost all of them, are fake, and nobody fucking believed me until Sunny V2 posted his video on it. Now I've been vindicated. But yeah, I still haven't seen his video yet. He came out with real evidence and explanation. Man, suck the dirtiest part of my ass. I came at you with voice crack, with real evidence and explanation, but you guys didn't want to hear it at the time. I brought up like 3 different videos showing the aftermath of primitive building videos where someone bought like 10 acres of property and there was like multiple locations where they made those like underground primitive swimming pools and shit, and you could actually see construction equipment, tire tracks and all of that. And you guys were like, no, those are just naturally occurring jungle tire tracks. Like, I came at you with evidence and you still didn't believe me. There, yeah, you know what? We'll check out the Sunny video now. And then I'm gonna play some Warframe, I think. Or maybe go down another rabbit hole, then play some Warframe.
Almost every single primitive building channel is underpinned by countless different lies, and we've got tons of evidence to prove it.
Goddamn right we do.
Now we need to put an emphasis on the fact that this is most primitive building channels, and certainly not all of them. After sifting through forum post upon forum post about the ways in which these primitive builders lie, in order to generate sometimes up to 500 million views per video, users...
That channel name is so shameless, Mr. Tfue. Is it supposed to like capitalize off Tfue being a popular YouTuber in the algorithm? I'm actually not super familiar with this one. Was that the idea behind it? You said that last time, did I? I don't even remember that one. There's so many of these channels, they all blend together. They're all fucking fake.
Users continued to mention one name over and over, crediting him as legitimate amongst the sea of phonies. Primitive Technology.
Yep.
The 10.4 million subscriber channel, which is run by an Australian named John Plant, basically invented the primitive construction genre, all the way down to the sound design of silence mixed with rainforest noises, with Primitive Technology even stating in a Reddit AMA that originally it was out of laziness in not putting narration in the videos, but then the silent format became popular, so I kept it that way. When going back to the beginning of these silent, relaxing videos, it becomes pretty obvious as to why they're credited.
If Sunny plays the same videos I played in my evidence, I'm gonna be tight.
Primitive Technology cuts no corners and shows how each stage of the construction is completed legitimately. For example, when examining his very first video, he shows the axe head being sharpened, a log then being cut by the axe, then the logs being crafted together in a way that feels realistic. All of this is accompanied by specific captions explaining what's going on in that very moment, alongside a full description of the build, all the way down to how long the construction process took. His builds never include swimming pools or anything over the top, yet feel impressive as they seem to be on the cutting edge of what is and isn't possible to build by hand. The legitimacy of some of his more impressive builds, such as this brick hut, can be supported by YouTube comments such as this one, which stated, "I actually know John personally. He was a really good friend. We live in the same town, although I haven't seen him since he went viral. I have fond memories of him telling us that he was building huts out bush and had no idea they were so legit."
Yeah, Primitive Technology is real. Again, this follows the same format as everything else on the internet. Someone comes out, does something super impressive legitimately, and a lot of other people will try and do it as quickly as possible to cut as many corners as possible to try and capitalize off it. It happens everywhere, so it's not like it's surprising that it happened with Primitive Technology. But yeah, he's legitimate. 100%.
Authentic guy from a
tier 1 guilty
relationship
shark
standpoint.
tier 1
All
high
of this is
quality.
incredibly important to understand, as Primitive Technology's videos set a baseline for what should and shouldn't be achievable in a natural setting. Additionally, Primitive Technology has been kind enough to provide us with a statement, which will be referred to as we look at the channels on the other end of the spectrum, also known as the fakers. The fundamental problem with the genre is that with so much time between camera cuts, there's plenty of time to set things up illegitimately. And with Primitive Technology's very first video receiving over 44,000 Reddit upvotes and 30 million views, it's no surprise that copycats with less integrity began to pop up left, right, and center. On these channels, the buildings were taller, the slides were longer, and the water was suspiciously more blue.
And it's a weird blue colour. Why is it so blue? Probably because they're probably putting dye in or something. There's no reason for it to look so blue like that.
Even more interestingly, almost all of these channels range from the exact same area, being Cambodia, Thailand, or Vietnam, yet often geotag the United States, claim to be living in the United States, and have their social blade country set to the United States. The overall production
I don't even
build
see why that would
on
help
these
them.
channels is arguably far more impressive than the
What's the
OG
benefit?
Primitive Technology, to the point where you have to ask yourself, are they really creating these structures out of mud and sticks? Well, when you do a little bit of research, the answer to this question is most certainly no. The best evidence for this is found when looking at a 5 million subscriber subscriber channel called Primitive
Tier 1
Technology
Mike,
Idea,
resub
whose
web.
failure to cover up the ways in which they fake their videos make them almost comical to watch. Take for example this episode titled Building Underground Water Maze, Crocodile to the Secret Underground House and Swimming Pool, in which the first shot shows two men digging on the surface, then in the next frame they're in an 8-foot deep trench. Now, if they're digging this deep with sticks, how are they avoiding large rocks and potential tree roots from, you know, the massive line of trees seen just behind them? Are they being assisted by large machinery? Well,
No,
we'll get to
they're
that
just
in a
very
little bit,
strong.
but first, let's focus on the idea that it's only two people doing these impressively large primitive construction projects. If that's what they were attempting to portray, it probably would have been best not to include the clip where a guy in a white t-shirt can be seen working on the project in the background. Yet if
No, that's just their cameraman. He's also using sticks over there in order to whittle out just a little stubborn branch is all.
Yet if it were just these three guys, that still wouldn't be that bad. However, further evidence suggests that they are far more help than this. At the start of the week, a community post was made on this channel in the hope that someone who had worked with one of these primitive builders would be willing to share their experience in doing so. We received countless emails which were all super helpful, yet one email stood out as being incredibly unique. That email was incredibly from one of the cameramen who works for one of these larger Southeast Asian primitive building channels. His name and the channel he works for have both been blurred out, as it'd be a little unfair for him to get in trouble for simply trying to help out, but the email began by stating, as you may have suspected, it's not as streamlined as the video would suggest. It is a large operation, as you may suspect, with a large team
I'm
behind
shocked.
it. After he then offered to answer any questions we had about their channel, we attempted to figure out how many different people will work on the actual construction part of the project from start to finish, to which he would respond, it is depending on the scale of the project, but no less than 12 or more, before going on to explain that within his team, there is a director for the acting done. There is also a hired architect to obviously make sure the structure will not collapse and will last long enough to film in, and obviously afterwards many editors are involved. In case an email from someone who works
it's a pretty
for one of these
legitimate
primitive builders
operation.
isn't enough evidence, it's time to introduce a different channel called Photo Expression,
Tier
who
1
incredibly
coffee,
stumbled
recent
upon
evil.
one of these primitive construction sites before capturing over 8 minutes of footage with a drone. We'll refer to
So you guys believe it when he puts this in his video? I pulled this exact fucking thing up in my rant on these things being fake. But now that he puts it in his video, you guys believe him? That is actually hurtful. That actually hurts my fucking feelings. This is what I was talking about. This guy purchased a large property of land, and on that land there was a lot of builds on it. So he took a drone, flew through, and showed the aftermath, and in some of the shots you can actually just see like literal tire tracks. That actually just hurts my feelings, I'm not gonna lie.
different parts of this footage throughout our video, but for now it can answer the question of how many people are really working on these sites. There's initially a clip where 8 different workers can be seen standing around a rectangular hole in the jungle, followed by another grainier clip from a far distance where somewhere between 7 and 10 people can be seen building a swimming pool. If they were honest about how many people were working on each project, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it should be noted that some of these videos specifically state in the description that I've been working hard with my 2 friends about 100 days to completely build, when in reality it's a whole team working for only 3 to 10 days depending on the project, as mentioned in the email response from the cameraman. So if they're being untruthful about the time period as well as how many people are working on each project, what else are they lying about? Well, how about the incredible fire pits that they seem to create effortlessly? Going back to the statement made to us by Primitive Technology, he seemed to imply that maybe the fire making in their videos was fake. It's hardly surprising that he brought this up, as when you compare his meticulous method of creating fire in the wild to the fire making of these Southeast Asian primitive channels, as mentioned previously, it becomes comical. They slap a couple of rocks together before beginning an explosive
Well, they just have
fire on
better
large logs
rocks.
with no kindling whatsoever. John went on to state that if they've faked simpler things, then they're most certainly faking more complicated ones, which turns out to be true, as when looking at another video by Primitive Technology Idea, it becomes obvious that not only are these guys faking simple things such as fire, these guys are also faking the most labor-intensive exercise of all, the digging process itself. This video with over 63 million views begins as most do. A shirtless guy draws a big circle and begins to dig it out. Only in the next frame, suddenly there's spray paint on the ground that they forgot to rub out. Additionally, on the wall of the hole, these long smooth cuts can be seen, which are completely incomparable to the cuts being made by the stick.
No, he's
Well,
using a
there's
bigger stick
reason
for those,
this. Turns out spray
obviously.
paint marks weren't the only thing that they forgot to rub out, as in the minutes that
Tire
follow,
tracks.
excavator tracks can be seen here,
Yep.
here, here, and here.
So now you guys believe these are real tire tracks? Interesting. Weird. You guys just think I'm some kind of big fucking bumbling idiot who doesn't know what fucking excavator tracks look like. Fascinating.
Different video by the same channel, the same person can be seen working very hard digging out a similar hole, which to their credit contains no excavator tracks around it. One mistake they did make, however, was that they forgot to take the actual excavator out of the top right hand corner. According to the email sent to us by the cameraman on one of these channels.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure I pulled up that same video and even I didn't notice the actual excavator was there. Yeah, well, you know, I hit more times than I missed in my evidence. But that would have been a really compelling piece for me, I think, I'm not gonna lie.
Right-hand corner. According to the email sent to us by the cameraman on one of these channels, approximately 70% of the digging is completed by machinery, whilst 30% is completed by hand, given how much of the work lies in simply digging. But men still do plenty of digging. As you may guess, in small underground spaces, it is impossible to fit a skid steer loader in the hole. Most of the actual construction is done by a hired team of specialized builders from my understanding, and they work with only intrinsic tools. The dirt is removed by skid steer loaders and offloaded elsewhere, and skid steer loaders are used in the initial boring process, whilst incrementally we film the builders doing superficial works on the hole.
I would have never
The video
imagined
in
it
which
was
the excavator
this
can be seen in
big of
plain
an
sight,
industry,
then
though.
goes on to strangely display the collection of concrete from a river, which is the exact same clip reused from the previous video. Now, why would they reuse the same clip twice in two different videos? Well, it's because collecting concrete from a river is completely and utterly bogus. Concrete doesn't grow in a river, according to a civil engineer who had commented on one of these videos. Earth cement
I wouldn't have
is
even known.
incredibly fake. Cement requires a precise combination of different raw materials and then receives considerable heat treatment in order to make the powder we all know and love / hate. What's even funnier is that every single one
I guess even that would fool me. I'm not smart enough to know, like, if you can make cement from a river, like river dirt. So that's something I would absolutely overlook too. And I think it's important to note that even though it is clearly confirmed these are all fake except primitive technology and maybe a couple others, it's not going to affect them. People are still going to watch even knowing that because they just watch it for that comfort feeling like, oh, this is so satisfying. Oh, look at how cool that giraffe in the pool is. So it's not exactly going to hurt them, but it's at least nice that people will now finally know for sure that this shit is fake and stop trying to pretend that it's not. Thanks to Tier 1, Rika in the Prime, Wake in the resub, Soft, Tegu, Kevlock, Koalin in the Prime, Koss in the 5 gift subs, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Clay is, but not like cement, like in primitive technology. Ah, gotcha. The WWE of primitive building. Yeah, honestly, at this point, I would go like full-blown showmanship here and just make it really entertaining. They should have storylines where like there's a rival builder, or like an evil construction man who comes by and tries to like tear their house down or something that they have to fight. I get real wild with it.
Has their own unique method for creating natural concrete. This channel's concrete is simply a mix of dirt and water, which, if you think about it for 2 seconds, doesn't create concrete and rather creates muddy water or mud, which is just dirt after the water dries. This other channel gets a bit more creative with it by taking a chunk out of a termite nest, grinding it down into powder, mixing it with water, then concreting an entire pool with this small chunk of termite nest. Yet neither of these compare to the fakest channel of them all, Primitive Technology Life, which decides to just skip the concrete altogether and go with good old rocks and dirt. However, that's not the only suspicious thing about this shot. You'll notice when looking at the bamboo that each branch has a suspiciously clean cut on the end. Compare this to Primitive Technology, the legitimate channel from Australia, who in one video displays what the end of a log should actually look like, and you'll notice pretty quickly that these pieces of bamboo weren't naturally cut on site. These pieces of bamboo weren't either, which, as displayed in the video, were attached together then used to siphon water from a river to the pool. Only there was no river. Photo Expression found the exact site of this pool, then stated in his video that in reality, the closest water source was more than 6 kilometers away. Instead, he found a bunch of blue plastic piping attached to a tap in the ground. Going back to the email from the cameraman, the water for their channel just comes in cubic containers that is transported there. A very funny part is any scene where you see them sourcing water from some magnificent waterfall or lake, they're actually going somewhere perhaps hundreds of kilometers away and pretending to take it back. The video in which Photo Expression...
This camera guy seems so nice. Like, he just seems like such a jolly guy. Just like actively making fun of them while still working for them. That's the dream job right there.
The video in which Photo Expression had stumbled upon various completed primitive builds also showed that after these channels are finished building, the sites are simply left to rot. This video doesn't speak for every Southeast Asian primitive building channel, but in this particular case, rubbish was left everywhere, including, as you might guess, cement bags. The fact that the videos are fake isn't the most concerning, it's the destruction of the land that's concerning. Now, if this was public rainforest, you could probably consider this a pretty big deal, but according to the cameraman's email, at least on their channel, every build is done on privately owned land, which is least for the purposes of the video. If this is the case, maybe Photo Expression is in the wrong for snooping around and filming on someone else's property. We're kidding, of course, but if the builds are being completed on privately owned land, it's a little narcissistic to comment on what they should and shouldn't do with it. Primitive Technology, the original legitimate Australian channel, put it best in his email to us when he said, "My advice to people who really want to know if the techniques on display are legitimate is to put them into practice and see. If you can follow the steps and get a similar result, then it's probably legit." He added that these
Zero people are going to do that.
Motivated by money and status
Actually,
alone,
zero.
rather than a true interest in primitive technology. But wanting to stay out of internet drama will leave it up to the discerning viewer to decide what's real and what's not.
Nice. Well, that's a big I told you so moment for me there. Thank you, Sonny. I've been vindicated. If I had to guess, I'd say all of those fake primitive building channels are probably all owned by the same company who just outsources it to multiple channels to try and get the most juice for the squeeze, which is why you see so many like variations of the same name, like Primitive Technology Idea, Primitive Technology Life. Mr. Tifu's kind of an anomaly. That one kind of comes out of nowhere and getting real wild, but I really do think it's probably like one company that does it, which is why they're all so similar. Amy Schumer? Nah. I just wanted to do this one because I've talked about this so much. We can do the Amy Schumer one a different day. Your clips are shown in the Amy Schumer video. Yeah, I feel like I'm one of the only people that watch every single thing she puts out. I am her most prolific hate watcher. There is not a single special and only like 2 movies of hers that I haven't seen. Make sure to smash that like button and thumbs up, ring the bell, tell your mom I said hi. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.